Hello and welcome to the Site Visibility Measuring Search Success offline webinar. Here we've got a couple of details, the Site Visibility Twitter group, the LinkedIn group discussion, which we can use to continue this discussion later on, and my Twitter name, Mr. Graham. So yeah, let's step forward. So let's move on to our agenda. If you click on that. So today we're going to be first of all, we're going to be looking at our introduction. So what are we going to be looking at? We're going to be looking at basic attribution for offline success. Then we're going to be looking at some more advanced attribution and the insights that we can gain from those. We're going to be looking at call tracking with our tool Call Beacon. And then we're lucky enough to be joined by Stephen Way from Collier Stevens to talk about how he uses Call Beacon for his call tracking. So I guess the crunch here is that one of the biggest advantage of digital marketing is how easy it is to measure the online performance of our actions. We can see, okay, if we do this in our digital marketing, then we can, see great results online, whether that's through online goal tracking, e-commerce tracking, however we decide to, measure that success. But I think a lot of digital marketers can sometimes overlook the offline digital campaign performance, or even write it off as too difficult to measure. So, whereas somebody might come to your website and fill in a call me back form, that's easily measurable. But if that person just picks up the phone and calls you directly, or if they go to your store, if you have that sort of a physical store for them to go to, how do we find out if people are doing that? How can we find out if that's attributable to the campaign that we're performing online? So we're going to be exploring a couple of ways to track those for both phone leads and sales, and then for in-store sales. We're going to be running a quick poll first. The first of our polls is going to be sort of talking about how many methods do you use at the moment to measure offline success for your online digital campaigns. So the poll's open. Just to let you know, the little window there will stay open until you've chosen your answer. So yeah, the sooner we all answer, the better. Okay, so on to the next slide. Cool. So I guess actually let's start on this slide. Basic attribution. So these are ways that we can get a good idea, or at least a rough idea, of how or if our campaigns are making any difference whatsoever to our offline success. And the first there is going to be sales analysis. So I think sales analysis is by far the simplest way to estimate offline digital campaign performance. Really all we're doing here is saying, okay, well, we've focused on the keyword widgets, for example, online, and we've seen a great improvement in how many widgets are sold in store or through our phone channels, and that's, I mean, it's certainly a valid way of trying to gauge how well our marketing campaigns are running. But of course, we're missing lots of information there. We don't really know what parts of those campaigns are working necessarily, and we're not really getting any sort of valuable in-depth insight. So next we're going to be looking at sort of surveying. Now, surveying, I guess, is almost in the same vein. It's perhaps not quite as sort of technical. We don't need to have all sorts of clever software running in the background of our websites or anything like that. But we can get huge amounts of information through surveying. Asking at the point of sale, so when somebody either buys on the phone or at a checkout, for example, ask them where they came from. Ask them, these sort of questions about how they heard about you and what they sort of thought of your website, say. You can ask them as part of an after-sales follow-up. That can be incredibly valuable by saying, okay, how did you find our service? How did you find our phone services, for example? And, how did you find us? And then part of a product registration. Now, I guess product registrations are really popular these days with some software sort of providers. So I don't know if anybody's ever used, say, Adobe Suites or perhaps even like some of the smaller sort of tracking softwares. And a lot of the time you'll get an email afterwards saying, oh, hi, could you, if you register this, register your product, we can give you, you know, extra sort of goodies for that. And of course they're doing that so that they can find out, first of all, how you found out about them and to, you know, optimize their marketing. So those, I guess, are the less technical way of doing things. Now, I guess one way which is becoming more and more popular is through unique coupons. So as well as encouraging your users to purchase your products, if you're providing these unique coupons online, you can easily identify the customers who started their journey on your website by saying, okay, you know, how many people have given us this offline coupon? Say 20 of those, we're getting 20 coupons a day. You get a rough idea that those people have probably come from, you know, an online source, or at least they've seen your website. And that can be really valuable. I mean, we see a lot of offline offers and promotions, you know, as part of these coupons. We're using QR codes more these days, which can give us even more information, especially if those QR codes are created on the fly on your website for specific users. And of course, those QR codes can contain more in-depth information about those users. And of course, we can even allow users to use these coupons online, over the phone, or in store. I suppose fairly similar to that is using unique numbers. Now, we're going to be talking in more depth about call tracking a little bit later on. And this, I guess, is the first step towards that sort of call tracking. So especially if your business relies on phone sales, using unique numbers both online, so on your website you display one number, and offline, so on any offline campaign you'll be using a different number, will help you fairly easily identify which channels your users are actually coming to you from, or sort of using as a point before they purchase from you. So, as I say, setting up unique numbers for each marketing channel, and then I guess on the point of lead or sale, just note down the number that's being used along with that call outcome, and that will allow you to get lots of valuable information about where the user's coming from, and also hopefully some use when you're recording the call outcome of, you know, the success of your call service. So for the first poll, we're looking down the list here. We have, so for the term, how many of you are using the following offline tracking tools? We have 20% are using QR codes, which is fantastic. Interestingly, 0% are using voucher codes there. And that's something which might be worth having a little discussion later on in the LinkedIn group. 30% are using surveys, which is, of course, a strong way of getting lots of unique data. Unique numbers, 40%, which is fantastic. And then sales analysis, you know, just looking at those raw figures and getting some insights out of that, that's another 40% of people. So I think that's a really, really interesting sort of steps. And as I say, we'll talk about that in LinkedIn later on. Okay, so okay, so next we're going to be looking at advanced attribution and insights. So I guess the first one here, and perhaps one of the most potentially costly, but also potentially the most, I guess, elegant way of tracking the behavior of your customer across both online and offline channels, by using customer tagging, by using technology similar to, for example, a loyalty card or some sort of a similar sort of identification method. So we can sort of create these offline loyalty cards to be registered online, or vice versa, I suppose. And we can connect those with the login of the user. that we want more information on. In that way, we can tell when those people are coming into our store. To a degree, if we're asking people for reference numbers on the phone, we can track their behavior on the phone as well. And of course, across our website by connecting their online registration with their loyalty card. And then, I mean, we can start to, I guess, compare the purchase patterns of these users alongside, you know, their behavior both online and possibly offline. I suppose the point that we wanted to talk about sort of in most depth today was call tracking, both because, I mean, a lot of clients that we have certainly work, you know, have a lot of calls coming in from their website. I'd say the majority of websites these days probably have a phone number on them because people still find it easier to call them. So call tracking is really about getting as much information about the users who are converting via phone calls after visiting our website as possible. So tracking phone leads and sales that originated online, gathering really valuable data about these customers, including really all of the information that we'd be able to get from a web analytics package such as Google Analytics. So, for example, I want to know what keywords somebody has used before they called me for a sale, and then improving our website and our call answering services based on those insights. So, which brings us to our second poll, actually, about whether you're able to identify the phone leads or at least the origination of, if that's a real word, of your telephone leads. So is the poll running now? Excellent. So we're going to talk about call tracking, as I say, my personal favorite slide of the presentation here. Let's have a quick look. So far, how many have we had? We've had 27% of us have voted so far. So far, we've got 25% are saying no tracking for phone calls. 75%, ooh, it's changing. More people are, excellent, this is going to make things interesting. Okay, 60%, oh, hello, 17% of people are saying yes now. 17% of people are tracking phone calls. 33% aren't, and 50% are sometimes tracking those calls. And I think that may continue to change. But yeah, we've roughly 14% of us are tracking those telephone calls. So why are we using call tracking? I guess for many businesses, online conversions are just a really small part of the potential success that you could be tracking about your business and about your online campaigns. So I suppose on top of that, most businesses do still rely heavily on phone calls for their sales. So we use a tool called Call Beacon to measure the sales and leads from users that started their conversion paths online. We use the tool to improve and qualify the online marketing that we perform. So with these tools, as well as knowing, okay, you know, people are filling in online sort of call me back forms, sometimes people aren't going to be that interested in that. You know, people don't want to wait for a reply, particularly sometimes, especially if they're interested in, you know, purchasing soon. They're just going to want to talk to somebody who can help them straight away. And so this can be really, really valuable there. So the way that call tracking works, and Call Beacon specifically, every user which comes to your website will have their own unique number displayed for them. So no user visiting your site will see the same number as another user. And that allows Call Beacon to match a user with that number and with their online behavior. So, as I say, this gives us all of the details that any web analytics package can provide. In fact, we can even set up calls, a call lead, a call sale, or just, you know, a call answered, or in fact a call not answered, with an analytics visitor. So that's all nice and integrated there. So that really allows us to see unique and repeat calls, leads and sales, mediums driving our traffic and the calls, keywords driving the calls, which can be really, really valuable, both in terms of qualifying our keyword strategy and in terms of saying, okay, well, if we missed a call, then we know what that call's about and we can answer back automatically. I think I'm stealing Steve's thunder a little bit here. We can look at waiting and call durations, which helps us to improve our services. We can see missed calls, location of callers, which is very interesting, and we can actually record those calls so we can go through them later for training purposes. Now, I guess here the most important value, as far as I'm concerned here, is just being able to measure the true ROI of our digital marketing. I'd say if you don't have a good idea of your KPIs and of the return on investment of the marketing that you perform, you're probably not performing the best marketing campaign that you could. You really need to understand, okay, what am I investing into this and what am I getting out of it? And if you don't know where all of your conversions are coming from, or if those conversions are going under the radar, you can't really understand that. You can't really get those insights. And so that, I suppose for me, that's the core value, as well as seeing opportunities to improve and optimize campaigns. And as I say, hopefully improving our business all along the way. Now, as I say, we're lucky enough to be joined by Steve Way from Collier Stevens, and I'll pass you over to him now to talk. I guess it's almost a case study into how he uses call tracking with CallBeacon and how that's worked for him in the past.
Yes. So we introduced call tracking onto our website about a year ago, initially to try and establish how effective our PPC campaign was and to try and reduce our PPC spend. And the products that we sell, house surveys, party wall matters and things like that, they're one-off high-value items typically purchased every 5 or 7 years. So it's quite critical for me to know how effective things are, and we also find that it's a fairly personal sale, and we can increase our sales by getting people on the phone. We'd identified one of our PPC campaigns giving us low returns but a high click-through rate, and I was intrigued to know where everyone was going. So we added CallBeacon onto the site and found that in fact we were most of those calls were actually coming, most of the clicks were converting into calls, and so that was relatively effective. So the CallBeacon system provides a lot of analytical information, which, to be honest, we ignore, because that's why we've got Google Analytics. I'm more interested in the information on. So I'm just trying to catch up with the slides that are being flicked up in front of me here. So can we go back to the PowerPoint, because you've gone ahead of yourself. So we've used CallBeacon. We use CallBeacon to achieve these things. So we track our inquiries against keywords, which is very straightforward, and we can also track our inquiries against landing pages. Because the CallBeacon calls are recorded, it means that we can play those back every now and then on a quality assurance schema, and that we also operate a out-of-hours remote answering service, and that also gets recorded, so it enables us to do some quality assurance on our outsourced telephone answering as well. We also are able to see where a potential client enters our website. We can track their journey through that website, all within the CallBeacon information. We can call back missed calls, and that is a real challenge for some of the people we call back, because they're not expecting us to call back, and they're certainly not expecting us to call back and know why they were phoning us without an answer message. In fact, if we can get somebody technical on the other end of the phone, we're bound to get the job, because they love spending 15 minutes talking about how we did it. And on occasion, we have been able to check information on web pages when callers challenge us. If we can now bounce forwards to the CallBeacon analytics page, that's the page that I generally ignore. I just like to look at that thing that says total calls up or down, because that tells us how we're doing. But call log is the one that gives us most of the information, and there we've got each of our calls, registered customer phone numbers on the left, search phrases in the middle, campaign and advert references over completely in the middle, and the search channels. If we were to click on one of those red visitor IDs, so we'll go to the bottom one there, that provides us with some background information, tells us, working from the bottom, which is where somebody actually comes into our website, we can see the keyword, obviously, we see how long they spent, where they visited, and then when they phoned us. And that's very, very useful for us, because it tells me that the information that keyword, that the potential client associates with that search was found on our Party Walls excavation page rather than our Building on the Boundary page. We've got there the call time tracked, and oddly and bizarrely, they left our web page open for exactly 24 hours before clicking out of it. If they had returned to our website in 3 or 4 days' time and made a phone call, that also would have been recorded as well. So just a useful sort of side benefit of this is we could track the performance of our 0800 number, and we found that actually nobody was using the 0800 number, so we've been able to drop that and make a modest saving there. Not much more to say about that page, and I'll probably hand back to Graham now to wrap up what's been going on.
Lovely. Thanks, Stephen. So, okay, I mean, I guess for me, I've got a couple of other pages here which I like to use as part of our sort of agency service. And being a big fan of keyword strategy, I guess you'd usually find me on the keyword report page getting some ideas about, and I'd be happy to sort of go through these to get an idea of, you know, the share of keyword density for people calling through. So we have, you know, Collier Stevens, as we'd expect, as sort of one of the top terms driving traffic, one of the top head terms, assuming that these other terms are probably long tail traffic. And then Building Surveyor right up there as a really, really strong non-branded head term. Looking down here, we can see the number of unique calls. We can see repeat calls. Very, very useful. If we were to move through to, let's have a look at call overview. I like to play around with these especially. So looking at reporting by medium, seeing where these calls are coming from. Again, this is very similar to how I look at any goal through Google Analytics. But we just get all of this information about the phone calls coming through to our businesses. So we can see that pay-per-click and organic search are both, you know, performing really well. It's interesting to see lots more unique calls coming from pay-per-click. Very interesting.
That's the bit you miss on Google AdWords, is who engages by phone rather than who engages on the...
That's right. So yeah, so there's a huge amount of information through here. I guess everybody likes to see the map of where their users are coming from as well when it loads. So again, yeah, we can see where are people more likely to be calling from. Have you found that useful? Have you used this before?
No.
No, absolutely not.
No, because if they've got their money and they want me to go and survey something in Kent or London, I don't really care where the money comes from.
That's right.
Where they're phoning.
Excellent. I think you mentioned earlier on as well, Stephen, that sometimes it's a bit of a pain to have your analytics all over the place, you know, lots of different tools, and it can be really useful, again, with this tool that we have visitor touch points. So again, we can see where these visitors are coming from online and where the pages which they're visiting before they make those calls. So again, lots and lots of useful information there. Now, let's just move back to, and apparently, let's just open this up. So thanks ever so much for joining us. Again, we're going to be continuing this discussion online on our LinkedIn group. I've included a minimized URL there for you to follow. As I say, that's part of the Site Visibility LinkedIn group. If you have any questions, please let us know there. We'll have this recorded on the blog, on the Site Visibility blog tomorrow, where there's lots of other information about tracking and, of course, general digital marketing. And as I say, we'll answer any questions that you have online on LinkedIn. Thank you very much.